Welcome back to Martins and More. My name's Maury Rutch.
And I'm Spoon Phillips.
And this episode's brought to you by our Patreon members. Join our growing community and enjoy early access to every episode, exclusive video versions of the podcast, behind-the-scenes footage, full-length product demos, and more. We appreciate you. Isn't that right, Spoon?
That's right, especially the more, because this is Martins and More, and today is a special episode that is, in fact, about more than Martins.
Well, in a way, it's about less, too. It's about more than Martins, and it's about less strings.
That's true, that's true. Though Martin does fit in here once in a while, probably. We'll get to that later on. So, yes, thank you all for your continuing support. Always happy to see new members. And looking very forward to people's opinions about the opinions expressed on this program that aren't just our opinions. They're also the opinions of writers from Rolling Stone, readers from Rolling Stone, and writers from the website consequence.com. So, what is our topic today?
Our topic today, the best bassists.
That's right. Now, we did a program some time ago where we were voicing our utter surprise at the Rolling Stones' greatest guitarist list. And these lists, of course, are designed to cause controversy and have people, nitpick and argue about who should be ranked over who. But we just found some of them, the rankings, just undefendable, really. Yep. So I thought it'd be fun to do bassists and Rolling Stone, maybe 2022. I don't remember how long ago this goes. They did their top 50 bassists. But what really spawned this today is Chris France. Chris France posted something this week on Tuesday on Facebook. He has what he calls Tina Tuesdays, and he always shows a photo of his wife, Tina Weymouth, who was with him a founding member of Talking Heads and Tom Tom Club. And so he always has these great photos of her, concert photos, photos from around home, their beautiful home upstate New York and stuff like that. And but this was unusual. He posted a link to this new list that just came out recently from Consequence, and it is there. I'm going to bring it up right now. 100 Greatest Basses. And so this is on consequence.net, and it's from this month's blog. And so and Tina's on there, and so he was running that up the flagpole. So I thought it'd be fun to look at this list, compare it to the bassists that we know and like, and to Rolling Stone's list, and also Rolling Stone's list of the top 10 bassists according to Rolling Stone readers. And so I thought that would be a fun thing to look at. I think bass players, of course, are often overlooked unless they're, complete outrageous, showmanship like Flea, or big superstars in themselves like Sting.
That's interesting. You said it's Rolling Stone's readers, not writers?
It's the readers' poll is just the top 10. The writers' poll is the top 50. So I thought we'd take a look at both. But I thought it'd be fun to, before we get into the details, look at some of our favorite bass players, that come to mind, and then go looking, before we really look at their top 10s and all that, go looking to see if, first of all, do we have some of the same people on our lists? And second, we can talk about why we chose them and see how they rank compared to other people's opinions.
We can see why we chose them, or alternatively, you can say, what did we base our decision on?
Oh, I saw what you did there, and I heard what you did there. So for those of you following this on YouTube, we'd love to see your opinions in the chat, in the notes, and both about what goes on in this program, but also bass players that you really love, why you love them, and particularly those that some people may not be aware of, or you feel are unjustly left out of the conversation.
So if I'm hearing you right, are we going to start the program with our favorites and then later see if they made the list?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can do them one at a time and immediately go look them. I can look them up on the list and see where your bass players landed, and we'll see. What do you think?
Fair enough. Can I go first, please?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right. It's a little bit easier to get upset than the last time we did this. There were so many people on, well, 250 to be exact. Last time we talked about this, and I had to look a little bit longer before I figured out who's in the wrong place, who's way too high, who's missing altogether. This list that you gave me a couple days ago was just 25. I'm going to cite most of my bassists on the first list because Spoon just threw 2 more at me about...
And I apologize, that was the complete... I sent you the wrong list. I meant you to send the one which I sent you today from that Chris had posted on his Facebook page. So that was another website's list of just the top 25 that, they had, and they had... One of the reasons I veered away from it, they have the sort of obligatory crossover jazz rock guy, but most of them are either funk or rock. And so it wasn't really a wide scope. So that's why I was going with these longer lists. But let's start with some of your favorite bass players.
And I'm not saying that to complain. I just want our readers to get a reference point where why are all Maury's picks out of that same list? Well, that's most of the reason why. I think the first person who is not only missing from this list, but should be, in my opinion, really near the top, and see if you would agree, Lee Sklar.
Leland Sklar, certainly a favorite bass player of a million people, millions of people. Part of that is his personality, his amazing looks with the giant long beard and long hair and all that stuff. But also, certainly his bass playing, very tasty bass player, puts a lot of personality in what he plays. I first came to know Sklar because of his session work with the session guys in L.A. That included Russ Kunkel on drums most of the time, Craig Dorgy on keyboards, and Danny Korchmer, known as Danny Cooch, on guitar. This is the crew that was on the Running on Empty album. They're on a variety of recordings by some of Maury and I's favorite artists in the sort of Crosby, Stills, Nash scene out there. And but yes, tons of credits. I'm sure he's on these bigger lists. I'll be curious to see if he's on the Rolling Stone top 10. But Lee Sklar, I didn't mention him in my list because I knew he's going to, I've already been through these lists, so I knew he was on these lists. He's definitely one of my favorite bass players, but I knew he was on there, so I went with some people that might not be on there. So let's see where Leland Sklar is on, let's go to 100 Greatest Basses on Consequence. So
number five.
He is number 98. 98. He is just above Tom Peterson from Cheap Trick and just below Jenny Lee Lindbergh, and who played with Warpaint, who I'm not familiar with. And so that's interesting. 98 out of 100. And so let's see where he is on Rolling Stone's all-time 50. He is 47. So he's also near the end of their list. And, they mentioned him, James Taylor, Dr. My Eyes and Running on Empty, Gene Clark's classic No Other, Phil Collins' Don't Lose My Number, et cetera, et cetera. So Lee Sklar is... I know he also played with Carole King, and many other people. Maury and I got to meet him at NAMM one year, so that was pretty cool. And he saw us. We were standing still, and he was coming down a narrow hallway, and he saw us see him, and he said, "Hi, fellas." Like, okay, here's another conversation I have to have. But he was very nice, and
get this over with.
I'll never forget. I asked him, you hear a lot of stuff about these people, these headliners, and is David Crosby and David Lindley, are they really that, eccentric and strange and all that? And he said, oh, no, they're perfectly, Lindley's insane.
I remember that.
I'll never forget that. So that's Leland Sklar, certainly one of my all-time favorite bass players and music personalities. So I'll go up next because I'm going to say first, this guy's probably not going to show up, but I'm going to mention him anyway because he. I was pretty anachronistic. I was very behind the times. I was still listening to 1968 and 1971 and still listening to 1970 and 1975. And it really wasn't until I got to college that I got turned on to a lot of contemporary music. And one of them was always at the parties on the weekends was the Pretenders' first album, or Pretenders' first two albums. And Pete Farnham was... a really good groove bassist in that rock and roll period, the CBGB's crowd and all that. And he unfortunately was fired due to his inability to control his own entertainment, which actually claimed his life, shortly thereafter, unfortunately. But Pete Farnham, let's see if he's on here. So, we didn't look at the top 10. Let's go look and see if Lee Sklar's on the Reader top 10 here. Let's see here. Let's see if these people have good taste or not.
I'm bringing criminal charges if they're not.
He's not on the top 10. Lee Sklar is not on the top 10 of, and let me just make sure I'm spelling his name right here. Yep, not there. So he didn't make the top 10, but you got to realize there are thousands of bass players, and I'm not sure how old this list is, but does it say this is from 2011? So probably a lot of younger readers that probably may not up that up on Lee Sklar. Okay, so I'm going with Pete Farnham. I'm sure he's not on here. And he's not. So let's see if he made the top 50. He is not there, and I'm sure he's not going to be on these guys either, but we'll look anyway. Not to be found. Okay, so that's somebody I wanted to throw out there as a kind of a forgotten bassist. He and Jimmy Scott both died way too young. But they, were founding members of the Pretenders and loomed large in my youth. Okay, next up, Maury Rutch.
Well, this next one might be a technicality because I'm not entirely sure if he plays bass or is there a list of the top 100 stick players? I'm going to say Tony Levin. Does that fall into today's category or not?
No, he plays all kinds of instruments. Yes, many multi-string kind of basses and stuff like that. Yeah, Tony Levin's got to be on here. Let's look him up in consequence. Fine.
While you're looking, I know he wasn't on that 25er that you gave me.
He is 56, number 56, King Crimson, and a zillion other people, famous for his Chapman stick and other things. And he's one of a kind. And, whether you're talking, from Joni Mitchell to all over the place and experimenting with all kinds of different artists. Tony Levin is number 56 on Consequence, and he is in Rolling Stone. Fine.
So innovative.
Oh, absolutely. Come and see here. Tony Levin, 42. So landing 56 on one list and 42 on another. So it'll be interesting to see who these guys go for. But, and how many strings is on that stick? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 string. So a 10 string, bass / baritone guitar. Tony Levin. Very cool guy.
I can't wait to play 20 questions.
Totally unique.
I'm thinking of a 10-string Chapman stick, not made in Mexico.
Here is somebody I'm going to pop out here that I think also gets short shrift. I think it really depends on people's taste in music. That's why I kind of always chuckle a little bit about these greatest of all time lists, because you can have so many different ways of deciding it. Is it their influence? Is it their popularity? Is it, you know, your personal thing that you love? And you know, if you don't listen to John Lennon, David Bowie, and King Crimson, maybe you have no idea who Tony Levin is. You know, so you know, you probably wouldn't vote for him as one of the greatest bassists. So let's. I'm going to go with Phil Lesh. Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead. As a lad, I did not know them very well, and what I did know was more of their sort of more country stuff that, you know, that picked up my ears when somebody was playing Friend of the Devil or Ripple or Me and My Uncle, stuff like that. And then I got turned on to Live Dead. And I didn't understand, like, just like Pink Floyd, the Grateful Dead, their live shows, and Jefferson Airplane, really, their live shows were very different from their records. And the early pre-Dark Side of the Moon stuff and pre-Umaguma stuff, same thing with, they were free-form, bizarre, long jam, you know, Space Jam stuff that, you know, could get really freaky. And at these happenings where people were dropping acid, you know, the articulated acid tests in San Francisco and all that, where the Dead came up. Fascinating with the Dead when now you can actually hear soundtracks from the real acid tests. And back then, they were basically a rhythm and blues band. They weren't doing that much of their freaky stuff. That kind of came later, which I never understood. But anyway, Live Dead, the whole first three sides of Live Dead is one song. It's actually multiple songs, but it's like, wow. It is Dark Star, which is a very long jam song, into St. Stephen, into something called The 11, which I used to remember. It's called The 11 because of the bizarre time signature it is in, but I can't remember what it is right now. And that whole thing just goes on and on and on, where they just morph it from one into the other with little like spacey stuff in between. And his bass playing is just, particularly when you turn it way up. And Jerry Garcia's got this echoing guitar. He'd do a slide on his SG down with his finger, and the sound man will have it mixed so it goes from speaker to speaker and all that stuff that they would do back then around the auditorium. And Les's gigantic mega bass was so cool, so evocative, and but even in their, you know, their nicer stuff, I think you know, Jack Straw, songs like that. I just love his bass playing and the really great tone that he got. So let's see where Phil Lesh lies. First, we go to the top 10. Is he in here? Find. He is not in the top 10 readers. Where is he in Rolling Stone? Phil Lesh is number 11, Rolling Stone. He got very high ranking. How about that? And
readers.
No, this is the main role. This is the writers. He's not on the readers poll. He's number 11 in Rolling Stone, and in consequence, Lesh is 81. So there we go. Tastes in music, 81. Stream of consciousness style is what they refer to him as. And but yeah, if you guys have never heard Live Dead, just listen to Dark Star from Live Dead. Very cool. You know, not to tell tales out of school, but I've been told that certain entertainment substances can enhance the experience. So Phil Lesh ranks high in Rolling Stone, low in consequence.
I have to test your memory banks and see how much you were thinking, or more importantly, how much you listen when you and I talk to each other. I do that exercise at home a lot. It doesn't go well. You and I were driving somewhere less than a year ago and listening to something that was not the Grateful Dead, but it was Phil Lesh, and you commented to me that his sound is gigantic on this album. Which artist was that album?
Oh, you're talking about If I Could Only Remember My Name. David Crosby solo album from 1970-71.
Good memory.
And you can, and again on YouTube now there is recordings from those sessions of some of the jams and stuff. And so when Crosby recorded that album, he brought in the people from the Grateful Dead, and he brought in people from Jefferson Airplane, and Other people, I think one of the guys from Steve Miller's band's on there, stuff like that. But the San Francisco scene people, they weren't always there together, but there are times when what's basically the Dead and Airplane people are playing together with David Crosby and sometimes Graham Nash and so forth. But yeah, again, fantastic recording, the way they recorded that, and with Garcia's pedal steel and Les's huge bass and all that. Okay, you're next.
Next up on the greatest bassist of all time that should be somewhere, but we don't know yet if they're on the top 10. We don't know if they're in the big list. I don't remember seeing this one on the 25 list. I would have to say John McVie from Fleetwood Mac. And when I say that, I'm admitting that's one of the, leans more towards my favorite bass players. And admittingly, I didn't expect all of his peers to really vote him in here. But I think John McVie's bass playing on the Fleetwood Mac stuff that I know, and bear in mind, I'm talking about the popular stuff. I don't go that far back with Fleetwood Mac before they became the powerhouse that Rumors and the album before that. I'm thinking of the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks incarnations of Fleetwood Mac. John McVie is a favorite bass player of mine. I don't have high hopes that he's on either of these lists, but I'd love to see if you can find out for me.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to be on here somewhere. And in fact, in Consequence, he's number 36. And
really?
Yes, number 36. So they find him a true master. And again, a very good example of someone that, if you're not that familiar with Fleetwood Mac stuff, you only know him from the radio, you probably don't pay that much attention to the bass. But just the throb in Dreams, you know, it's one of those guys that knew how to not overplay and knew how to, and knew, how to use the instrument to really enhance the song. So, and they're, again, a band that changed a lot. They started out as basically a blues band, like most English rock bands at that time, pre Lindsey Buckingham era, the Peter Green era. And let's see where he is in Rolling Stone. 37. There's a tie. We have a tie. We have a draw between the two. At the center of the emotional tempest that is Fleetwood Mac, sturdy, empathetic John McVie has mixed old school rock solidity with California smooth, grounding the band's sound for 5 peerlessly even-handed decades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and this is something I meant when I was bringing that up about Fleetwood Mac. He started with John Mayall, like a lot of people did. So he started out as a hardcore blues band player. And let's see here. It's impossible to think of The Chain without getting the iconic bass break.
Yep.
And so forth and so on. So good for him. I agree. He always reminded me a little bit of Bill Wyman on his stage personality. He wasn't a showman. He wasn't there to show off. He basically looked serious, took his business seriously. And I think people from that generation in the English rock scene, when they were young, they thought it was cool to have kind of a snarl and kind of, if you look at the early Stones, where Wyman and Richards are just stone-faced, like they could care less about the fact they're on TV. And they're just teenagers trying to look cool, I realize in hindsight. But I think McVie kind of comes from that same background, and he always maintained that I'm the cool bass player. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna horse around. And when you have people like Buckingham and Nicks in your band, it's not bad to, have people, and Mick Fleetwood, for that matter, speaking of characters, to have somebody who's that kind of grounded, cool guy in the corner.
Are you familiar? You said California Smooth, and my mind goes immediately to Warren Zevon. Are you familiar with Warren Zevon classic, Werewolves of London? Did you know that is John McVie?
I did know that. I'm glad you brought that up. I had forgotten all about that, but yes. Yeah, I had played that record to death in my youth. I think I literally wore it out. So, and back then, like a lot of people, I read every single footnote you could find on an album of who was on what and all that. I was much more into band members and sidemen, and I always loved the fact on wow, here's a senior moment for Everyman on the For Everyman album.
Oh.
You know, they list all the musicians, and you know, the pedal steel player named Sneaky Pete. Just that just sounded cool to me. So yeah, and I used to get, when it came to Fleetwood Mac, you have Mick Fleetwood and you have John McVie and you have Christie, and they were, you know, the whole
McDonald's thing?
What do you call it? The whole soap opera of those couples and everything that they went through. And supposedly that made for Amazon series about Rock Band was, you know, greatly inspired by their relationships. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now.
Oh, that was really, really good. Daisy and the Six or something, I think.
Yeah, Daisy and the Six. Yeah, Daisy, somebody in the Six.
That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and, you know, even I think I would have figured out it was Fleetwood Mac related without having read that first, but I had read it before I saw it. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to step up with Rick Danko. I don't know if Rick Danko, founding member of the band, is going to be ranked very highly or on here at all. I don't know how technical bass players would rank his playing, but I've always loved his playing. I always loved his... there is somebody who put a lot of emotion in his work on stage, always had a great time, certainly loved playing music, and I think probably never saw himself as a superstar, even when he was on stage with Bob Dylan. But let's see where he is in here. I mean, again, those kind of things, the opening bass to Don't Do It, there's just his little bass runs throughout while he's singing Stage Fright. And, you know, that's another talent, too, to be able, it's one thing to be able to play the bass, another thing to be able to play the bass and keep the time and the rhythm and sing the song at the same time. Not everybody can do that, and he was one of them. Let's see where Rick Danko is on Rolling Stone. They have him number 20. Wow.
Ooh.
They rank him very high. Let's look at Consequence. 69. So much farther down the list. So throw on the weight and listen to Danko, you know.
Yeah.
And, okay. And I'm assuming he's not in the top 10, but let's see if he is. Nope. Didn't make the top 10 of the readers. So that's Rick Danko of the band. Very quickly, what do they say about him? From Rolling Stone, spare, stylish, always situated deep in the pocket, was crucial to the lope of tracks like Up on Cripple Creek, King Harvest, Surely Come. I back in the day, I had his solo album, which I really liked a lot. And here's something here. Always fit hand in glove with Leo Von Helm's Swampy Grooves. I feel about bass playing as I do about background singing. It should be a hair behind. It's nice to leave the top of the beat for the vocal and spread the other parts around the beat. That gives the music a sort of Ferris wheel effect to carry along. That's cool. Ooh. Never knew that. I'll listen for
really
that now.
Interesting. Yeah.
He's also a heck of a guitar player, which a lot of people don't realize. But unlike McCartney, who plays the bass like a guitar player, Danko plays the guitar like a bass. There's a wonderful song that he wrote, When You Awake. Is that what the name was called? On YouTube, he's just playing what looks like a big Gill Jumbo or something, and by himself, solo, and playing all over the place, chords all over the place. Highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite videos on YouTube. Rick Danko playing When You Awake. And when you can see what I mean, while he's playing, he's doing this alternate bass stuff while he's strumming that is, you know, a bass player playing the guitar. So very
Great
cool.
Song.
Rick Danko. You be next.
My turn again. I'm going to pick somebody. We were just talking to our friend Marshall Fleischer the other day, and he brought up a really good thing he saw on one of those paid programs. It might be a streaming service. There's a big Paul Simon documentary that I did not get to see yet. When Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel got back together years ago and did that really beautiful tour, came out with the gorgeous double CD set. If you guys remember CDs, Pino Palladino was the bass player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pino Palladino.
What do you know about that guy?
Let's say not much, but let's see if he shows up anywhere.
And on that concert, I don't know if it was a deliberate choice, but he really, really made an effort to go back and play the record when it comes to old songs from Simon and Garfunkel. Conversely, if you go and find the concert in Central Park, it seems like it's a 1981 version of all the hits, and they just play the songs. This specific album that I'm talking about with Pino Palladino, you hear the bass lines from the original recordings almost note for note as far as my memory goes. So it's really interesting. I didn't get to ever see any behind-the-scenes stuff, and I certainly don't know anything that the public doesn't know. But if you go listen to Simon and Garfunkel, I want to say it's probably more than 10 years old now. If I'm really being honest, it's probably 15 years old, but it was their big reunion, and it's the entire catalog is just done so well. But his bass playing on that, especially.
Are you saying that Central Park, the concert in Central Park?
No, I was comparing that to it. So 81, they seemed to just play the songs however they wanted to play them. But in the concert I'm talking about that was much more recent, at least the bass playing went back to the original bass lines from the albums, which sounds so different.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Well, if we just gives you, insight into how much musicians, again, bring to a song and how their personal playing, how it can affect it. And we've seen this a lot. Like you and I, big Jackson Browne fans. After Lindley and Jackson Browne went their separate ways in terms of touring, he had a series of other guitarists, and after Danny Cooch and whatever, and those guitarists had to learn running on empty to at least get the flavor of what Lindley had originated, while still putting in their own, personal touch. And Jeff Pevar, guitarist with, Dave Crosby, and same thing. When he, would tour with Crosby and Nash, he had to, basically be Stephen Stills while also being himself. So Pino is number 67 on Consequence. Now, I never knew that much about him. All I knew is he was the guy that replaced Entwistle in The Who. And that's really the first time he came on my radar, though I'm sure I'd seen his name.
Know that.
Yeah, he was called up to take over from John Entwistle after Entwistle died. And that's where I think that's the first time his name really registered with me. Though I'm sure he's on. I know he also is on some of the top Peter Gabriel records as well. But I didn't really know anything about him. So that's very cool. And here he is. Let's see what they have to say about him. Jeff Beck, John Mayer, Don Henley, B.B. King, Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun.
God bless you.
Oh, right there. 9 Inch Nails and Simon and Garfunkel.
When's the last time you said that together?
And Pete Townsend's direction was, play whatever you want, just as long as you play loud. So
wow.
you don't have to sound like Entwistle, just play whatever you want. So
turn it up.
Very cool. All right, so I've got 2 more so how many more do you have? Do you have more?
I have 3 more, but you keep taking off my list, so I have 3.
Okay, well, you probably don't have either of these guys. So the first one, they're both last name Brown. Do you have anybody named Brown on your list?
Nope.
Okay. I can't believe that he wasn't on the list I sent you, but then I realized there's a lot of people alive today walking around as fully graduated adults that probably have never even heard of this guy. His name is Ray Brown, and I want to see if Ray Brown is on here. Fine, this is Rolling Stone. Ray Brown is not on Rolling Stone's top ones. And Ray Brown. Now, it's possible all of these lists are bass guitarists. Ray Brown's not a bass guitarist. He's an upright bass player. And he's played with everybody back in the day. And, from late Duke Ellington upward, he has a guitar. He's got an album out. And let me see. I got to remember who everybody's on it. He has an album out. He's been dead some time now, but it was called Some of My Best Friends Are ... Guitarists. And Ray Brown, guitarist. Let me should have thought about doing this before. Okay. So he died in 1992. Let's see. He was in Duke Ellington's band. Dizzy Gillespie hired him the day he saw him play. Like hired him on the spot. Somebody said, Dizzy, you got to check this guy out. Immediately hired him. Art Tatum, Charlie Parker, Charlie Smith, Milt Jackson, Modern Jazz Quartet, Ella Fitzgerald. He's all over Ella Fitzgerald's records. He was in it. Oscar Peterson's trio. He was the bass player for Oscar Peterson's trio. And goes on and on and on. And on Countdown to Ecstasy, he's the bass player on the song Razor Boy, Steely Dan's Countdown to Ecstasy. And he's on the Elvis Costello album where it's just a big picture of Elvis and he got a beard. I can't remember the name of that record. But anyway, and if you're old enough, you will have seen him many times on the Merv Griffin show because his LA4, I think, or LA5 or whatever they called, were often the musical accompaniment on the Merv Griffin show. And so, and Merv Griffin had started out in the old days as a band singer. I don't remember what band leader he was the singer for before he became a television talk show host. So he would always sing a song at the beginning of his, or sometime during the show he was going to sing a song. But, and I liked Merv Griffin because he was in the afternoon and he would get people on like Leo Kottke. He would get, people that you normally didn't see on talk shows when it came to music people. And I don't know who chose the musicians that got on his show, but I used to watch it just to see the music. So anyway, Ray Brown. So I'll let you go next, and then I'll go to my second Brown bass player.
I should keep my eye on the podcast here, but now my memory goes to being home from school and my mom watching Dinah Shore and ironing clothes and all that stuff. So let me just take 1 second to remember my youth and Merv Griffin and all that stuff. I have somebody on my list that I sort of think a lot of people should know. We talked about the 250 greatest guitar players not long ago. One of those guitar players, I want to say almost always plays with this guy. So before I tell anybody what the answer is, I'm going to let Spoon think for a second and ask you guys, if you're still watching this on YouTube, don't be shy. Please pump in the comments. What do you think so far of what we've chosen? And are any of the people that we've mentioned so far on your list as well? And if you have a favorite bass player, let us know by writing it down, whether you're watching in real time or on the replay. But I'm going to talk about Eric Clapton for a hot minute. And if I tell you that, Spoon, do you know which bass player I'm thinking of next on my list?
I'm going to say no, because my Clapton stuff goes back. I was never a big follower of Clapton in his later, like, superstar years. So I think there's somebody he used to play with, but he certainly didn't play with him up through his superstar years. So I'm going to abstain.
Nathan East.
Oh, okay. Nathan East. I know Nathan East. Let's see where he fits on here. So, because I was going to say Jack Bruce, and of course, but they were on that, they didn't play together after Cream. So, so Nathan East. Find Nathan East is not on Rolling Stone. He is not on Rolling Stone. Is Nathan East on here? Find Nathan East is not on Consequence. Fascinating. So I'm going to look him up. Born 1955. First studied cello. Was in a jazz band called Foreplay with Lee Ritenour. Was later replaced by Larry Carlton. Harvey Mason on drums. His work includes Bobby Womack, Babyface, Anita Baker, Bee Gees, Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, Brian Ferry, goes on and on and on and on, George Harrison, Kenny Loggins, B.B. King, Manhattan Transfer, Sting, Barry White. What a Grammy for Record of the Year for Get Lucky by Daft Punk, and performed at the Obama inaugurational ceremony at the Lincoln Memorial. How about that? Oh, he had a solo album in 2014 that includes Stevie Wonder, Michael McDonald, Eric Clapton, Ray Parker Jr. That's pretty awesome. How about that? And performed in the Cream of Clapton band with Clapton's nephew. So
maybe that's what I meant.
A cream. I'm sure I didn't put Jack Bruce on here, but I'm sure he's on here somewhere from Cream. So that's a deep dive right there. Good for you. That's great. That's great. That's what I mean. I like these kind of lists because they not for the back and forth of who should be ranked where, but because that guitarist list turned me on to some guitarists I had never heard of. And so I did some deep dives on some of them, particularly some of the foreigners, the people from Europe and stuff that I was not that familiar with. So that was very cool. Now here's another deep dive. This is another lost soul bass player from my youth. This is Dave Brown. Dave Brown is immortalized in the Santana song "Soul Sacrifice." That boom, 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 boom. And he was the original bassist for Santana. And really loved the early Santana records. The first one, Abraxas, up through Caravan, Moonflower. But unfortunately, Dave Brown had some personal issues early on and had to be replaced in Santana's touring band. And then kind of eventually disappeared from the scene, though he lived until, I think, the year 2000. But, and so he did not, looking up here, he, let's say, I'm just seeing if they're just talking about Paul Butterfield's blues band. Oh, I grew up with Sly Stone. That's kind of cool. And he was second cousin to Billy Preston. But he basically... And in fact, he was a member of the Hells Angels for a time in San Francisco chapter before getting involved in Santana. But he didn't last very long. But it's too bad, but you can certainly see him in Woodstock performing with Santana on YouTube. But always loved his look, loved his style of playing, and was sad to see him kind of disappear from the scene. So yeah, he's on Santana, Abraxas, and Santana 3, so he's not on Caravan. But those 3 albums were huge in my tween years, so rest in peace, Ray Brown, rest in peace, Pete Farnham, rest in peace, Dave Brown, Rick Danko. We mentioned Entwistle being dead. Phil Esch is still out there, kicking around. We haven't mentioned any youngsters, so that says a lot about us, I guess. But we're, mentioning people that meant a lot to our youth and coming up. So who else do you have?
Well, he's not young, but he means a lot to me. And you mentioned a Steely Dan song a few minutes ago. I forget which albums this cat was on, but probably more than half of them. Chuck Rainey. Yeah, Chuck Rainey, great bass player. He's played with a variety of people other than... So let's see where he is, Chuck Rainey. He's got to be above the top 50 in that big list, or we're going to have problems. Chuck Rainey, yeah, he is in Consequence number 59. There we are. Here's something you may not know this. Do you know what famous bass intro to a famous sitcom he performed? I don't want to say Seinfeld. Maybe... Actually, I might have seen this before in another life, so if I get this right, don't think I cheated. Is it Barney Miller? It is not, but that's a great guess. It's Sanford and Son. So he's bass player on Sanford and Son. And I must say, when I said intro, I was thinking Barney Miller. So I was on the same wavelength with you, but it's Sanford and Son. But yes, he's a bass player in Kid Charlemagne. But he also worked with Quincy Jones. He was a Quincy Jones guy. So Aretha Franklin, people like that. And Sanford and Son. That's awesome. And Sanford and Son. Every Friday from 1971 to 1977. Very cool. Very cool. Well, no, wait. Did he go and do that live every Friday, or did he record it once and they used it again? Let's see here. No, just millions of people heard his bass. Okay. Sure. So that's very cool. I'll just say, because right in the middle of this, right below him is Robbie Shakespeare on this list. And I know Shakespeare from playing with Dylan a lot, but he, he's been with a variety of people as well. But
But Charlie Garnier, I wonder if Charlie Garnier's on here. I'm going to say Charlie Garnier just because I listened to a lot of Bob Dylan. He's been Bob's bass player for since Moses was a boy. And I just wonder if he's on here. Charlie. He is not on that list. Is he on Rolling Stone? He is not. He's also my neighbor, or sort of. But,
what?
But nope, not on here. Yeah, I live in one of those kind of neighborhoods where the hedge fund managers and movie stars and musicians own the houses, and people like me rent the apartments that are kind of grandfathered in here. But let's see here. Nope, not on there. So let's go take a look at these top 10, the readers, and we'll see where they rank with those two top 100 lists. So, number 10, Victor Wooten. Victor Wooten played with the Bella Flecktones, jazz guy, and it's interesting. And he's toured with Dave Matthews and people like that. Has a funkier style than Jaco Pastorius. So he's like a jazz guy that crosses over into other stuff. And let's see where, that's number 10. Let's see where Victor Wooten is on here. He's not on the Rolling Stone. Let me just see here, make sure I got the right guy. Yep, he's not on the Rolling Stone list. But he's number 22 on Consequence. So there we are. They don't say that much of him other than he's mastered every kind of technique known, and the global bass community's IQ has collectively been raised the past 3 decades. He's been teaching and playing across genres due to his efforts. So that's Victor Wooten. That's interesting. So number 9, Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton is one of those guys that like Flea was just a massive hair bouncing all over Metallica's stage, and really a crowd rever-upper, and unfortunately was killed early on when they were on tour in Europe, and their bus went off, hit an ice slick in Sweden or whatever, and he was killed. Yeah. So he didn't live very long. So he is, but he is, eulogized, and he must have only been like 23, 24. But so he's on here. So obviously he was very well remembered and and has inspired a lot of people. So Rolling Stone, the readers, he's number 9. Let's see where he falls here. Cliff Burton. No, he's not in Rolling Stone. He's only mentioned when they're mentioning Lemmy from Motorhead. So as number 33. So that's interesting. And they're just quoting him talking about Lemmy. So let's see if he's in the other one here.
Did you say Burton. Let me see?
Okay, he's not on either list. So Cliff Burton did not make either list, but he made, oh no, I'm sorry, he did. He's number 14 on Consequence.
Wow.
First 3 Metallica LPs are immeasurable, body the ethos of metal itself as the ultimate Hesher bassist. Humble, yet in possession of prog-level chops and enthusiasm for sharing his ideas. For whom the bell tolls, kill 'em all, etc., etc. I must admit, considering Metallica morphed sonically and aesthetically in the years after Burton's death, it's safe to say he was utterly vital to the thrash metal mastery the band captured in those early records. So I just remember him being a buzzsaw of wild hair. But, so yes.
That was my kind of music back in the day.
By the way, right above him is Tina Weymouth from Talking Heads Tom Tom Club. So congratulations, Tina. And I'll see where she is on Rolling Stone shortly. So who is the top 10 bassist after Cliff Burton? Jack Bruce of Cream. And certainly he was from the hard rock jam era, which is quite different from those space jams that Phil Lesh was doing. He was a major influence on a lot of people, and also a guy who could play and sing at the same time, write songs, all that stuff. So let's see where he's number 8 in Rolling Stone on the Readers poll. Where is he in the main one here. Wow, he's mentioned all over the place, all these different, but he's not, oh, he's at 6. Okay, so that's at 6. Okay. So they put him very high. Black Sabbath bassist Geezer Butler said, I went to see Cream mainly because of Clapton. And I was mesmerized by Jack's bass playing. I didn't know a bass player could do those things, filling in where a rhythm guitar would normally be. And that's a very good point. That's exactly what he did in a power trio, super bassist for a power trio, and really kind of invented made the cut the mold for a rock power trio bass player. So Jack Bruce, number 6 there, and where is he on here? Find Jack Bruce. And 23 on Consequences. Wow. His metallic agility would become the nucleus that kept instruments around him together when he wasn't in the lead, as on Strange Brew. Okay, well, there we go. Jack Bruce. Next up, Jaco Pastorius. Another one of those wonderful characters, died tragically in a bar fight in Florida when he was 35. And
really?
Yeah, was killed by a bouncer outside of a Florida club. So
wow.
He was somebody that struggled with mental illness, bipolar syndrome and stuff. And yeah, Weather Report, Joni Mitchell, Ian Hunton, Herbie Hancock, very short list. But there have been many, many more, even like played with Sam and Dave, rhythm and blues stuff.
Oh, really?
And was the first, he was one of the first funky slapper guys, not the true funk stuff, but used that sort of slappy technique and plucking techniques and got some really, he certainly had a very unique sound. And I think I'm probably known mainly from Joni Mitchell and Weather Report, but let's see where he falls. He's number 7 in the readers. Yeah, he's number 8 here. So John Francis Pastorius III. I said from Pat Metheny to Jimmy Cliff. And he's all over Herrera. That's that Joni Mitchell album he's on.
Wow.
And, okay, so Jaco, the late Jaco, is 7. Number 6, John Paul Jones. Reader's poll, John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin. I'd say he was never on my radar. I'm sure if I go back and listen to him and really listen to what he's doing. But it was, for me, it was always more about the guitar and the vocals than it was the bass and the drums. But he also played for Donovan, Jeff Beck, Cat Stevens, and he also played with Dave Grohl as well in Them Crooked Vultures. And but
a lot of session stuff, right?
Yeah, session stuff. Yeah, mainly. But he did tour with David Grohl. And let's see here. He is number 6 in the readers. And where is he in? Rolling Stone has him, top 50 has him 14. Drew his inspiration from Charles Mingus, which is interesting, considering Mingus is, Motown jazzy stuff. And he certainly had a great time while it lasted. And let's see, he's, where is he in this other site? Consequence, he's number 19. So clearly rated very highly by people who like to rate bass players. John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin.
He might be the first one that ranked really high on all 3, if I'm counting correctly.
That's correct. He did. You're absolutely right. Good call. Let us see.
Yeah, I pay attention.
What is your name again? Les Claypool coming in at 5. Les Claypool.
Oh, Primus. Wow.
Primus. And let's see where he is. And also, of course, Oysterhead, which he formed with Stuart Copeland and Trey Anastasio.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I've never heard them. That would be really interested.
I'm going to look that up.
Really interested in hearing that. Yeah, we should look them up. Maybe they toured, maybe they recorded, but they were called Oysterhead.
Fish plus the Police plus Primus?
Primus. Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very cool. So let us go to
We'll see.
I have a quick Stuart Copeland story in just a second. Where does Les Claypool rank on the Rolling Stones top 50? Okay, is he on here? He's 36. Thrash funk. And where is he here? Fine, Les. Less is more in this case. He is 12. So they rank him very highly. Producing sonics with his fretless instrument that sounds like nothing else that came before or really since. Idiosyncratic. Watch any live performance of Primus playing Tommy the Cat. We may have to do that. Tommy the Cat, Primus. We'll have to look him up. Les Claypool. Very cool. Okay, we're running. Now we're into the top 5. He's 5. Number 4, right above him, Geddy Lee of Rush.
Can I backtrack one quick second? I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I tie one of these stories back to one a few minutes ago?
Sure.
You mentioned somebody in this list. Unfortunately, a lot of these people are deceased for different reasons. If I told you, you probably know this, but maybe our listeners want to hear a quick story. Les Claypool auditioned to replace one of the bass players that has passed on this list previously. Can you think of the band? Should that be a trivia question for later?
Would it be Metallica?
It's not going to be a trivia question because he just answered it, folks. Yes.
Well, which of these bands, dead bass players, would his music have fit? But I never knew that, but that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. Oh, my quick Stuart Copeland story. There's a video out there now. Highly recommend it. It's Patti Smith in the lobby of the Public Theater here in New York City singing Power to the People with a room full of people. And it's probably one of these kind of get out the vote things. But Stuart Copeland is there improvising the rhythm playing on like a trash can or something, but with a coat hanger or something like that. But anyway, it's very inspiring. It's really beautiful. It's really well done. And check it out. And the guy's playing what looks to be, might even be a D28S, if I remember. Maybe it's just a D28. I don't remember now. That's accompanying her. But cool. You can see that on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure, or Instagram. Geddy Lee of Rush, where do you appear in Rolling Stone's top 50 bassists? 24. And speaking of Claypool, let's see here. What do we see here? Boy, I'd sure like to make those sounds, Claypool once said of Lee when he was growing up. I'm still trying to do that. So that's what he said at the time. And but yeah, another guy, who can tap his head and rub his belly at the same time, put it that way, when it comes to the stuff that he's able to do all at the same time. So very cool. He cites Entwistle and Bruce as his inspiration. He's number 24 there, just above Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones. Where is he in... find Geddy Lee is number 6 on Consequence.
Wow.
So yes. Very cool. Prog rock. And if there's a PhD in rock bass, it belongs to Geddy Lee. And it's true. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you see what he does, whether you listen to their music or not. It's kind of like jazz to me. Jazz, bluegrass, that kind of rock. Seeing it makes a big difference, and actually watching these people, their amazing athletic agility to be able to play what they play, and is always really heightens the experience for me rather than just listening to records. So he comes in at number 6 on Consequence and number 24 on Rolling Stone, number 4 on the Reader's Poll. Number 3 on the Reader's Poll, Macca, Paul McCartney, the guitar player who got stuck playing bass and made the most of it. That
worked out.
Took over from Stu Sutcliffe when Sutcliffe left the band, and worked out very, very, very well. And whether he was playing his Hofner bass, one of his big Fender basses, I think he had a Rick bass. He also played that. The very first Fender baritone guitar. One of the very first two was actually sent to their manager, and to show it to the Beatles, and they loved it. And John and Paul and George all played it on a variety of records, in the late Beatle records, up into and including the Get Back, which became Let It Be, and Abbey Road. So let's see here. Paul McCartney has number 3 to the readers. Where is Macca on Rolling Stones Top 50? McCartney is number 9. It's hard to think of him being underrated, but a lot of people say he's underrated. Okay. But yeah, I think about Rain, the bass playing on Rain. Just really, really great stuff. So Paul McCartney, no surprise there, is in the top 10 at Rolling Stone. And where is he on Consequence? He is number 2 on Consequence. So they rated him very highly. And on the top 10 Rolling Stone readers, he is in fact number 3. Number 2 is Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Speaking about a Mexican jumping bean with a cloud of hair. Pretty amazing. I've always been impressed that people can actually play a song while they're doing all of that. I certainly could never do that. And I remember when they always mentioned the Simon Garfunkel in the Park concert. I remember watching it on HBO in college, and these 2 unimpressed young girls saying, they just stand there, because they were used to those kind of bands where people jump around and holler. But yeah, no doubt about it. When it comes to unique, funky rock stuff, slap and plunk, basically the Bootsy Collins, clearly based on Bootsy Collins. Hold on a second. She Who Must Be Your Babe is meowing at the door.
Get that cat out of the way!
Back from her nap. So, Flea, where does Flea land on Rolling Stone's top 50?
Is she looking for cat food sandwiches there?
They're waiting for her backstage as the song goes. Okay, now, let's see here. Boom. Flea. Where is Flea? Come on, Flea, you got to be here somewhere. You're going to tell me Flea didn't make their top 100? I don't believe it.
No.
Okay, let's go. Come on. Flea. He was 22. Okay, he is 22. I'm sorry, I get him mixed up. He's not the one with the hair. The lead singer's the guy with the hair. Flea's the guy with the short hair. But yeah, still, just an absolute wild man. And I never got to see one of their shows, but I always loved watching him on those big, fundraiser super concerts and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, pretty amazing what he was able to do while staying on time and playing the song. Flea is number 22 in Rolling Stone. And where is he on here?
And playing well enough to make a list like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Okay. Well, he's on the photo of Consequence, so he's got to be here pretty big. He's number 5.
Ooh.
And, very cool. Again, they mentioned Bootsy Collins, Larry Graham, big influences. Bootsy Collins, if you guys aren't familiar, is the king of funk bass players. And I'm curious to see where he's rated on here shortly. So let's go to Rolling Stones' number 1 bass player. Reader's poll. Can you think of anybody who's not on this reader's poll that we haven't mentioned that is a legendary bass player?
I can, but I have a feeling that I'm going to be a little bit let down. Should I give you my best guess?
Go ahead.
Carol Kay?
It isn't Carol Kay. This is the reader's poll. It's John Entwistle, which is on top of my list. I think he is in a different class from a lot of people. I know a lot of people like Chris
Squire.
Yeah. Chris Squire. Perfectly fine, but next to Entwistle.
Perfectly fine?
Perfectly fine. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Entwistle makes people like Chris Squire look like, Tim, makes you look. No, just kidding. But yeah, Entwistle, it just...
Wow.
He's just stunning, just absolutely stunning. Super fast fingers, super, interesting, full of energy. Another one of those guys jumping all over the place. Not maybe as much as Townsend, but yeah, he's number one in the readers poll. And let's see where he is. He's number 3 in Rolling Stone. And where is he here? Entwistle is number 10 on Consequence. He's above Mingus. He's below Stanley Clarke. Stanley Clarke being that crossover jazz guy I mentioned on that one short list that I had originally sent you. And so he's number 3. He's number 10 on Rolling Stone. He is above Mingus and below, Bootsy Collins number 4 in Rolling Stone, and he is number 1 on the main Rolling Stone top 50 is James Jamerson, Motown guy. So, so, Standing in the Shadows of the Moon is the name of his biography, and, Temptations, Gladys Knight, Heard Through the Grapevine, Marvin Gaye. He's number 1 at Rolling Stone. Where's James Jamerson come in on this other place here? James Jamerson. Both Rolling Stone and Consequence have James Jamerson as the number 1 greatest all-time bassist. How about that?
Wow.
And talk about one of those people who are basically forgot about by certain people. But McCartney said, he's my hero. I didn't know his name until quite recently. He just knew his music. And I guess a lot of people can say that about those kind of songs like My Girl and that kind of stuff that they didn't get credit for a lot of that stuff. But that's very interesting. You had mentioned Carol Kay. So where's Carol Kay in Rolling Stone? There she is, Carol Kay. She's number 4 in Consequence. And, I think we can just say Good Vibrations. Just the opening bass stuff on Good Vibrations. All you need. Just a remarkable session player, guitarist, and bassist. And she does not appear to be she's not on Rolling Stone's top 50. Shocking.
She's not.
She is not on their top 50. But she is number 4 on Consequence. So there you have it, people. And we'd love to hear what you think about what we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and I'll just do the top 10 from Rolling Stone. Top 10 from Rolling Stone. This is not the reader's poll. This is the actual 50 greatest. Yeah. James Jamerson, number 1. Charles Mingus, number 2. John Entwistle, number 3. Bootsy Collins, number 4. Bootsy Collins. And he's the guy that wore like the big rhinestone and big funny glasses and all that kind of stuff. But started with James Brown, but then went on into becoming the number 1 funk, basically the poster child of funk. Carol Kay, number 5. Jack Bruce, number 6. So she is on there. I don't know why she didn't come up when I searched. Jaco Pastorius, number 8. Paul McCartney, number 9. Ron Carter, didn't even think to mention him. Ron Carter is, one of the great bass players, and played with Miles Davis, played with I thought of him several days ago when we were first going to do this and totally forgot about him. Sorry about that, Mr. Carter. Collaborated with Pat Metheny for a long time. Like a lot of people and those kind of people, he played on many people's albums. Aretha Franklin, people like that. Ron Carter, and upright bass player. And then Phil Lesh comes in at number 11, Rolling Stone. So let's look at the top 10. James Jamerson at Consequence, Paul McCartney number 2, Jaco Pastorius 3, Carol Kay number 4, Flea number 5, Geddy number 6, Bootsy Collins number 7, Steve Harris. There you go. Iron Maiden. He came in on Consequence number 8. Mingus at 9, Entwistle at 10, Stanley Clarke at 11. And that was fun. I'm assuming Barry Oakley didn't make any of these from the late Allman Brothers bassist, but I did enjoy him. The work that he does on Live at the Fillmore and stuff like that. He he sadly, of course, died in his own motorcycle accident a year after Duane Allman died in his motorcycle accident. And one of my guitar picks ended up at their grave because I went to graduate school with a fellow from Macon, and so he went to their graves and threw my guitar pick out there with many other guitar picks. But
is Barry the whipping post? Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh man.
And so here we are, top bassists. We call them a favorite bassist because we're not into dissing people and saying you're better than you. But I will say, I think Entwistle is one of those people like Geddy Lee that is in a really small class of amazing musicians. So we'd like to hear what you think and read what you think in the comments on the YouTube version of this podcast.
Hear, hear. And what do you say, Spoon? Can we come back with 1 or 2 honorable mentions after a really fun game of 20 questions?
Absolutely.
Start thinking. 20 questions.
20 questions. This is the game where the smart guy, which is Maury, and the wise guy, which is I, face off, where one of us asks the other, whose turn is it now? And one of us thinks of a guitar that is available for sale from the Martin Guitar Company, still out there for sale. The other one has 20 questions to guess what it is, and up to 3 guesses of what model it is. And so I'm thinking it's your turn to think of a guitar and my turn to guess. Because I think you just squeaked it out last time.
Although the last few times we played, sometimes the game goes so quickly we both get a turn. But why don't we just stick with your original idea? And I will think of a guitar. I have thought of it. 20 questions on the clock. And go.
Is it the 0018 Modern Deluxe?
No. So
okay. Is it made in Nazareth, Pennsylvania?
No.
Does it have a spruce top?
Yes.
Is it in the Road series?
No.
Is it a 12-string?
No.
It's 5 questions. Just to make sure, is it in the X series?
No.
How can it be made in Mexico and not be in one of those 2 series? Is it a CS model? I'm saying SC model, sorry.
Now I'm wondering where this is made. Can we take a pause? I might be wrong. Yeah, let me look this up. Yeah, you get an answer back. It's made in Nazareth. So
that's 2 answers back because I guessed you said it wasn't in Nazareth, so I guessed X and Road.
Fair.
Okay, so that's 4.
I just work here.
Is it an SC model?
No.
Is it the GPC Inception?
No.
Oh. Grr. Okay, so now you got me all confused. Is it a Dreadnought?
Yes.
So, it's got... does it have a traditional dovetail neck joint?
No.
Does it have full Dreadnought depth?
No.
You're going to get me on technicality because I'm not going to remember the exact model name. Is this a D16E?
No, and I'm not getting you on a technicality with the name.
Okay. What on earth could it be? Does it have 6 strings?
No.
Is it the... Oh, man, now it's the technicality. What do they call these things now? Is it a BC1E?
No.
But it's a Martin bass.
It's not the name that's getting it. I'm not being technical with the name.
Is it a bass?
Yes.
I don't know what they call them these days. There's one bass still on the catalog. And is it a B16? It's a BC16E.
No.
Shoot.
No.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to fold because I have no idea what the name of the model is.
You got 6 questions left.
Yeah, but I know what the guitar is, but I can't think of what did they call it. So
I don't know that you do know.
You're saying it's a bass. They only make one bass now.
Is that a question?
No, I'm trying to think.
Ask me that question.
Do they make more than one bass?
Yes.
Oh, they do? Oh,
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
What do you call it? It's the junior bass. It's the D. Oh, man. D junior E. Oh, no, DC. Junior bass. How about that?
The D Junior 10E bass was exactly what you were trying to say, and I couldn't watch you suffer any longer. Nice job.
10E. Yes. Well, if it's a 10, it's made in Mexico. It's a junior series.
Is it? Oh, it is made in Mexico.
Yes, it is made in Mexico, but I wasn't thinking junior. I forgot all about junior. So we really messed that one up. Sorry, folks.
Sorry. Yeah, that's probably the least accurate Game of 20 questions we'll ever play. It's still entertaining, so I won't delete it, but that's all my fault.
Oh, yeah. No, it was fun. But yeah, it was. But you did give me the hint about ask that question again, because I was thinking they only made one bass, and I forgot they just came out with that. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time playing that with the new improved junior, the 6-string that came out at the same time.
Oh, yeah. So much fun to play.
Fun.
And you threw me off when you said they're the only ones made in Nazareth. I thought, let me look it up. I started looking up, and I thought, I don't want to waste that much time. So I just opened the browser and closed it and said, I know they're made in Nazareth, and I was wrong. If there's ever an episode we ever do again where we're less prepared, I'll be surprised. So,
I will pretend I'll be surprised too.
All right. That was supposed to go whoosh, but it didn't happen. So some episodes are better than others. What can we tell you?
You can fix that in the mix. You mentioned some honorable mentions.
Yes, I think we owe our viewers one more bass player each, even if it is the honorable mention category. And do you want to go first, or should I?
Well, I'll go. I'll throw out an honorable mention. This is a New York City band that has been around since the 1980s, called Life in a Blender. They have 10 albums, and Mark Lerner is his name. He's a very, very creative bass player. I've always loved watching him play. Plays with his fingers, and used to have his own band called Flat Old World, who just had a 24th anniversary reunion gig. He actually plays one of those Fender baritone guitars with that band. But Life in a Blender, Mark Lerner does the backing vocals. Also is a record producer, designs books, and check out Life in a Blender on YouTube and any place you can buy fine music. Mark Lerner.
Very cool. I'm going to name somebody that I'm not going to say his whole name, mostly because I don't know his last name without looking it up, and I just stalled for time, making you go first. The band is Fish, and I'm almost certain the bass player's name is Mike, and I cannot for the life of me figure out this guy's last name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and you totally stumped me. Mike Gordon. Yeah, he actually did a series of records with Leo Kottke. They actually collaborated on some.
That's what I was thinking
together.
of. Yes, thank you. All right.
Yes. I just want to throw out, I mentioned this, I forgot to look it up. Ray Brown, guitarist's album, Some of My Best Friends Are, guitarists is the name of it, Some of My Best Friends Are guitarists. And here they are. The guitarists that are featured on it is John Pizzarelli, Herb Ellis, Russell Malone, Ulf, Ulf Vakinus, who's a Swedish jazz player, and Kenny Burrell, Bruce Foreman, Russell Malone, Herb Ellis, John Pizzarelli, Ulf. Okay, I see that's just those guys. Kenny Burrell, Bruce Foreman, Ulf Vakinus, John Pizzarelli, and Herb Ellis. But it's a very fun album. It's from, I don't know how long ago it came out, but it came out, let's see. I don't even remember. But yeah, it's Ray Brown bass, Kareem Riggins, drums, Jeff Keyser, piano, and then those different guitarists. So check it out. 2002 is when it came out. Anyway, the late Ray Brown.
All right. Well, we're basically out of time, folks. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. For everybody who's commented on the YouTube side of this, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. I think we should end the program by counting backwards from 3 and each of us naming our favorite singing bass player.
Well, I was just going to say that's enough of the bass comments, Maury, for this crowd. So, thanks, Maury.
Okay. I'm out of them anyway. So 3.
Favorite singing. Okay.
Yes. Favorite singing bass player. 3, 2, 1. Randy Meisner.
Paul McCartney. Oh, very good. Randy Meisner, good. I was thinking, well, there's Sting. Definitely like Sting. Definitely like Mikey Mills, but he's not a lead singer from R.E.M. Like Roger Waters. But I went with Paul McCartney as all-time favorite. But yeah, Randy Meisner. I'm surprised he didn't come up. I should have mentioned him among my favorite bass players back from the early Eagles albums. And, of course, his spectacular vocal in Take It to the Limit. But...
well, you never know. I might begin editing this and find out that so much went wrong with this episode, we have to redo the whole thing anyway. And if we do, you can name Randy Meisner then. From all of us at Martins and More, thanks for listening.
Hear you later.